Hare Prabhupada Paramahansa Paribhajacharya Ashtottara Shatashishimad Abhaya Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Gandhi Piti Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityalila Vishnu Vishnu Pada Ashtottara Shatashishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Shad Goswami Ki Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shri Vashari Gauda Bhakti Vrindi Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Bhakavina Shambhakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavandam Ki Mayapuram Ki Gangamai Ki Yamunamai Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrindi Ki Shri Jugadam Harinam Sankirtan Ki Mihat Minanga Ki Yatai Gopamananda. All glory to the Sambhati Devotees, all glory to the Sambhati Devotees, all glory to the Sambhati Devotees, all glory to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. Jai! Prabhupada ki Jai! Hare Krishna. It's a great pleasure to be here again in Trinidad with all of the devotees and have this opportunity to try to serve in some way. First of all, I wanted to say that, just as a little advertisement, since most of you heard I have some cancer, just a little spot of cancer right here, but I'm going to start a heavier treatment on it. So you're going to see me with this big patch. So please don't ask me, what happened? It's just a treatment, but it's going to require a big Band-Aid here. So hold it in. So that's all it is. Otherwise I get letters like, "Oh, did you have an accident? Were you in a car accident? We heard that you fell out of an airplane." You got attacked by, and then pretty soon, who knows how bad it gets. And unlimited trying to answer people. So, there are a few things I wanted to mention, and then of course to try to answer any of your inquiries or, doubts, whatever. I'm just trying to emphasize to all devotees, and especially disciples, because it's my duty, but all devotees, that certain things that I perceive in our movement, in Krishna consciousness in general, that certain types of habits, attitudes, activities, etc., that stop the progress of our Krishna consciousness movement. In this way, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wrote Shikshastikam. Shikshastikam, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he, practically speaking, he wrote over 100 books. Some people say 125, some people 117. I guess depend on how you divide certain works up. That what he wrote, and everything he wrote was based on two things. One, the Chatushloki verses of the Bhagavatam and Shikshastikam. Practically everything he wrote is an expansion of those two things. And the whole Bhagavatam, of course, is an expansion of the Chatushloki. And the Shikshastikam is 8 verses which summarizes the whole Vedic conclusion. So, the point I want to make, especially the first 5 verses of Shikshastikam, are Sambandha, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which means those 5 verses, to follow them, if we follow them nicely, we establish our relationship with Krishna. Then the next 2 verses, they are Abhideya, how to practice Krishna consciousness with developing love for Krishna. And the last verse is Prayojana, or the goal, which is to serve Krishna with the mood of the gopis. The mood of the gopis doesn't mean that I'm a gopi, but it means with that mentality that everything is for Krishna. That mentality that whatever pleases Krishna I will do, whether I like it or not. This is the mood of the go. Whether I like it or not, whether it's convenient for me, that's irrelevant to a devotee who is wants to please Krishna. That's not an easy platform. It's a very elevated platform. But the beginning of Shikshastika, if we analyze Shikshastika, the beginning is, different ways in which the chanting of the holy name begin to fructify within the heart. And then, understanding the unlimited potencies, Tam Namakari Bahuda Nijasarva Shakti, unlimited potencies of the holy name and unlimited names. And then Tadvishi Tavakripa Bhagavan Mamapi. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that there's so much mercy. There's unlimited names, unlimited potencies, unlimited mercy. But I have no attraction. So how do I get attraction? Trinidad This is how I get the attraction. So our movement is the Hare Krishna movement. That's what we're participating in. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu based his summary of the whole Vedic philosophy on the chanting of the holy name. That's how important it is. But I've seen, generally speaking, that when there's ever the slightest difficulty in someone's life, or when women have children, or when we have too much work, or when somebody's studying, the first thing that goes is the chanting of the holy name. Either partially or completely. Now, some months ago, Triple B Swami came here to give a nice seminar on how to become more immersed in the chanting of the holy name. And my experience is, having done several japa workshops with Mahatma Prabhu, and I did a few by myself because there was nobody else to help me, and that people get very enthused about it. We did a couple here, many years ago with Mahatma Prabhu. And so one of the things that Mahatma Prabhu used to always say, the essence of this exercise, what we're doing, is to understand that for this to happen, everything that we've talked about in the last few hours or day or a few days, and summing it up by chanting 64 rounds, it's not a one-time event. Just like Janmashtami is not a one-time event. It's not like once a year, it's every day. Every day Krishna should be born within our heart through the chanting of the holy name. And whenever we go to a seminar, we should go, even people go to a money-making seminar or how to improve my life seminar or whatever, with the idea, most people go with the idea that there's some magical formula that I can mechanically apply and I will become richer or a better person or a pure devotee, in different cases. But that's not how it works. All these things, they require that we do them with the idea that I will learn things that will indicate how to change my life. Not that I will learn some mechanical technique or some secret thing. This is what I call allopathic Krishna consciousness. We want some pill that I just take it, some sutra that I will say, some mantra that I will, and everything will just happen. Of course, we have that mantra, but it doesn't just happen. It does happen. Just like it can rain on a field, but if there's no seeds there, then nothing will happen. Or if there are seeds and there's no rain, then nothing will happen. So my point is that I want to emphasize that we have to really, really try every day that my chanting will improve. Every day, even if it's just the slightest degree. And all of that depends on what? Trinadapi Suhichena. It doesn't depend even on how many mantras I know, or how many verses I know, or how many things that I know, but what is my ability to apply them? No. And the whole third verse of the Shikshastika is really related to others. How do I respond to others? No. Just like the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, no. Beginning with verse 54 and onward up to verse 70. It's all based on how do I interact. No. Krishna is teaching, Arjuna is acting. How do I deal with this, with the interaction between myself and others? No. And here in Trinidad and in Mexico and everywhere, I see this as the biggest obstacle. No. Just like now we're having a meeting, and of course it's wonderful and it's essential that the disciple relate to the Guru in a respectful way, because otherwise there is no Guru. But there's another danger that I see surfacing in our movement, and it's probably a lot has to do with the internet movement, the internet phenomenon, which is that now anybody can say anything on the internet and they sound like an authority. And I was just looking at a couple of things today that somebody mentioned to me. It's so much poison. But if our mind, if we're not advaita sarvabhutanam, if we're not free from envy within our hearts and within our minds, then that poison will be very attractive. All this poison. So and so. I looked at like 20 leaders who I know personally, who I've spent time with them, who I have spent months with them, who I have been on Padayatra with them for I was on Padayatra for 10 months, every day, not just Saturday, but every day. And I was with some of the devotees, and I see how people are, I know who they are. I know what wonderful Vaishnavas, and I see people blaspheming them, and all this poison is going out and misleading people. So we have to be very careful. As Srila Prabhupada said again and again, be like bees, don't be like flies. Look for the nectar. Meaning, even in relation to everybody has some faults. Everything in this material world, according to Krishna, is covered by some kind of fault. Some people have faults, they can't control their senses, some people can't control their mind, some people become too angry, some people become this, some people are like this, some people are nervous, some people are depressive, some people, we all have some kind of, some people are proud. They may have all kinds of good qualities. But if I don't offer those good qualities to Krishna in humility, then they become an obstacle. Therefore, Queen Kuti says, Janmaishvara Shrutaya Shrivir Edamana Mana Puma, that they simply increase the fever of material existence. Because all good qualities, if the essential quality is surrender, just like Krishna loves all of his devotees. So we have to love his devotees. If Krishna loves his devotees, how can we not love them and love Krishna? We may not want to associate with them. Certain people, every devotee wants to serve Krishna somehow or another. But some of them may have a background of, their mother didn't do a good job, or something, teaching them whatever. Or maybe they didn't have a mother, or maybe their father was an alcoholic, or maybe, so many things happen to us. But the thing we have to see in everyone, that they want to be a devotee, and even if they don't want to be a devotee, we have to see that they are devotees. How will I make them a devotee? How will I be an instrument? I won't make them, but how will I be an instrument that they can come to the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet? So this is humility. And then tolerance. Of course, I don't have to speak about tolerance in Trinidad. Everybody is so tolerant. I can't, believe it. But anyway, for anyone that might have not quite mastered it, it's a very important quality, because tolerance is the doorway to compassion. If we can't tolerate, therefore Kabila Dev says, Titiksha sva purunika. that if we can't tolerate, how can we be compassionate? If Prabhupada would not have been able to tolerate the so many bad habits and ignorance of the people that he began to preach to, this Krishna consciousness movement, if Srila Prabhupada would have been like any of us, even in the slightest degree, he would have just gone back to India in disgust. These people are useless. Of course, Prabhupada did say a couple of times, that, like he said one time, he said, teaching you is like washing coal. No? So, sometimes Prabhupada would say that just to emphasize that we have to try harder. So, nowadays, the most popular thing I see, and I've mentioned this in the past, is that everyone has this, because of all this criticism, and because of all this poison that is, being promoted in the name of, being informed or being intelligent or be careful. Don't surrender. Otherwise, basically it's don't surrender. Or just surrender to Prabhupada. But then I saw something, just surrender to Prabhupada, then the next thing said, no, Prabhupada is the cause of all this, therefore don't surrender. So, if you go on, if you read these things, your mind will be poisoned. But because of all that, and because our hearts our minds are conditioned and our hearts are full of envy, we begin to invent our own process of Krishna consciousness. And that is not parampara. Parampara means I take Krishna consciousness from superior Vaishnava. Of course, if one thinks there's no Vaishnava superior to me, then of course one will have to invent it. No. And that's what happens. Our conditioned nature, our false ego, wants to find the reason why I don't have to depend on others. Why I don't have to listen to Sri Guru and Gauranga or the Vaishnava. Why I don't have to serve the Vaishnava. Because this one's like this and that one's like, I've seen so many people and all of them. And so, this is not a good thing. But it's happening all over the world. Even serious devotees that are practicing Krishna consciousness to some degree, I've seen, there's a tendency, ISKCON is very big. It's not like the traditional Vedic system where the Guru lives here and everybody, all the disciples live right around, and every day they come, the children come to Guru Kula, and everyone comes for instruction. It's not like that. Even if it is, I've seen many places where some gurus, they stay in the same place, and after 3 or 4 days, nobody comes, because everybody's busy, and we are busy. Most of you are grihastas, or would like to be grihastas, or would like to not be grihastas. Everybody's like some transformational change in the physical world, the material world, and so naturally you have some attachments. But, and Prabhupada said that, this is a gradual process. But it shouldn't be so gradual that we don't make any spiritual advancement. That's the point. Gradual means that because of our conditioned nature, we can't just expect that I just chant a few mantras and everything will be okay. It means that because of that conditioned nature, I will get married, and then I have a 30-year compromise. Just like people in the US, they buy a house and they have a 30-year contract. So Grihastha life means minimum 25-year, 30-year, most likely 35 to 40-year contract. Before I could even think of vanaprastha. And most people don't think of it. Just like we don't think of death, or we don't think of vanaprastha. But it's there, meaning that all these things are temporary. But when you're in Grihastha life, you have to pay attention, you have to execute it properly, like Srila Prabhupada taught us, like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur taught us. But they also taught us that even though there may be some sense gratification, and even though there are family needs, and even there are emotional needs, the primary thing is always Krishna. We were just reading the other day, Sunday, in Mexico City, some 3 young devotees took up brahmacharya. So we had a little ceremony, not a ceremony, like a little, gave the cloth and spoke about it. And I saw how Srila Prabhupada said that one either should be brahmachari or grihastha brahmachari. Grihastha brahmachari doesn't mean that there's no emotion, there's no affection. It means that one minimizes those activities which can hamper our Krishna consciousness. Minimize means it may take you 5 years, 10 years, 20 years to minimize. But every day I'm minimizing by not trying. I'm not going to give up this, I'm going to give up this. Of course, we follow our 4 regulative principles. But Krishna consciousness, that's another point, I'll get to that point. But it means that that over the course of time, I should gradually go to that ideal. The Bhagavatam speaks of the ideal of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, many people don't like to hear it too much. Because those ideals, being very elevated and contrary to material attachment, they're not very comfortable sometimes, some Bhagavat principles. But if we hear the Bhagavatam every day, just like my godbrother Keshava Bharati Maharaj, he's every day reading for 1 hour Srila Prabhupada's books. They just read, they don't, he doesn't give a purport. At the end they may have a little discussion, or he may answer 1 or 2 questions, but they just read. So I wanted to encourage all of you to do that every day. At least read for 1 hour. It doesn't matter, you live with your family, you can read with your family. It would be very good for them. Oh, I see children everywhere. I see adults everywhere, and more so children with their cell phone, little apparatuses. And to me, that's simply inviting brain dead, brain death. Otherwise, if you depend on these machines too much, then your brain will stop working. Therefore, I encourage everyone, do your mathematics in your head, or at least do it on a piece of paper. At least half of the time. Otherwise, we become slaves to machines. And then, because all those little machines have internet, we start to dabble in the internet, and then you can lose so much time. Hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, just one thing that pops up. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, Trump did this. Oh, so-and-so did this. And what does it really matter? Unless I'm a politician or if you're a business person, you may be worried about the economy, and so that you may want to check out those things. But probably the more you look into it, the more you'll be in anxiety, and you probably can't do much about it anyway. Can I change the world economy? Can I change the Trinidadian economy? No. So better just to, of course some people who are sharp business people, they know how to look at the economy, and then they figure out what to do. How to structure their business strategy so that they can make more money. Because of course a Vaishya can make more money no matter what. If one's really a Vaishya, if it's a good economy, bad economy, a Vaishya will always figure out how to make money. And if you can't figure out how to make money, you're probably not a Vaishya. And the unfortunate thing about modern society is that everybody's forced to be some kind of Vaishya. Everybody, even Brahma, even sannyasi, they have to think about money sometimes. Otherwise, how will I get from point A to point B? Especially if you have a poor zone. And so these are the unfortunate elements of Kali Yuga. But my point is that we have to understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so how do you develop these qualities? Tolerance, humility, and respecting everyone and not looking for personal recognition. How do we do that? Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, na dhana na jana na sundari kapitana. That you don't want to accumulate wealth. Otherwise, that should not be the objective of a Vaishnava. Of course, if a Vaishnava is a Vaishya, and you can collect, otherwise, dhana doesn't mean you don't have wealth. It means that you don't think that wealth belongs to you. You may be very expert. Prabhupada says in the 18th chapter, I think it's verse 7, in the purport, that if one has the ability to make money and doesn't do it, that's renunciation in the mode of passion. So, but nadana means that I don't, it's not mine, it's Krishna's. I'm the manager, I'm just managing this for Krishna. So of course the tendency for sense gratification is, but it shouldn't be, as I've mentioned many times, that it's for me and I give Krishna my remnants. If I have something left over, I'll give it to the deity, or some Brahman or something. It should be, first thing I do is give to the deity. First thing I do is give to the Brahmins or the Vaishnavas. That's the first thing I do. Then I take care of my first thing, because Krishna should be always the first thing. So nadana, najana, I don't want recognition. I want Krishna to recognize me. I want my spiritual master. And I want the Vaishnavas to recognize my service in the form of facility. I want them to help facilitate my service to Krishna. And nasundari, I'm not, the opposite sex means marriage. Otherwise, there's no interaction with the opposite sex. I mean, there may be some social events. Just saying in general, it's not like our objective. Nakavita. I don't allow fruitive activities to overwhelm my consciousness. No. And if we do all that, then we get the result of the 5th verse. If we can do all those things, then Stita Dhuli Sadrishim Vichintaya. Then I can begin to see myself as dhuli, as a particle of a small particle. Otherwise, I don't want to be a big particle. No, that becomes a thorn in the Lord's feet. I want to be a small particle. Because if there's false ego, meaning I want to be a big particle, I want to be a big devotee, then you become a thorn in the foot of the Lord. I want to be a small, insignificant servant. And when one really becomes an insignificant servant, like Srila Prabhupada, he thought of himself as an insignificant servant, and look what Krishna allowed him to do. Because he thought himself that way. He perceived himself that way. And that's what then Krishna allows it. So the Sikshastikam is very important. And if we want to chant the holy name, and if we do all those things, then we can come to the point of understanding that I'm not this body. That's my whole point. Because understanding I'm not this body is not theoretical. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not give us some theoretical knowledge. He gave us a systematic approach on how to become a humble servant of the Lord. So this is a very, I wanted to emphasize this, that every day we should recite this Sikshastikam, and before chanting, or while we're chanting, or after we're chanting, at some point, and meditate on those verses, and try to apply them. If we try that every day, then after 30 or 40 or 50 years, we'll be able to, make some tangible progress. It may not happen right away, but it will happen. It will definitely happen if we try every day. But if we don't try, it's just like exercise. If you exercise every day, then you'll be in good shape physically. If you don't, then you won't be. You won't be. It may take some time because you have good health, good karma, whatever, but your health will go away. It will diminish. And also our Krishna consciousness. So, this is one point I wanted to emphasize, that please, I humbly request that everyone really apply these principles, and then we'll have a harmonious society. One devotee told me just a few days ago that he's preaching to college students, and that they love Prabhupada's books, but then when they go on the internet and look up Hare Krishna, and they see all these things, this happened here in Vrindavan, so and so, child abuse, then they shy away. So what is that? The point is that we have to reflect what Srila Prabhupada's books say in our lives, in our dealings, in our attitudes. Srila Prabhupada says in the beginning of Nectar of Instruction, the introduction, that this whole thing is about attitude. Krishna, otherwise, What does Krishna care if we give him a plate of food or not? But it's to develop an attitude, the attitude of a servant. Does Krishna need that? No. Krishna has Sahasra Lakshmi. He has unlimited Sahasra Koti Lakshmi. He has unlimited goddesses of fortune, queens of Dwarka, gopis of Vrindavan serving him. Does he need as Prabhupada said, my burnt chapati? No, he doesn't need it. But it's our opportunity, and Krishna is giving us that opportunity. And therefore, we have to be careful not to be caught up in the minimum. 16 rounds, 4 regulated principles is the minimum and the maximum at the same time. It's the minimum when we think, I gotta chant these 16 rounds. Then it becomes the minimum. But when I chant those 16 rounds with full consciousness, in Shuddhanam, then it becomes the maximum. Then it becomes, I only chant 16 rounds because I have so much service to do. Otherwise, I couldn't stop. I wouldn't be able to stop. That's how we have to come to that point. No, not like I finally got them over with. No. And now, that's in the beginning. Yes, that's wonderful. But when one becomes initiated and one becomes second initiated, then one has to evolve. No, it's not just some mechanical thing or some automatic thing, time thing. Time release, that I've been around for 6 months or a year, and now I should be initiated. And so many times I've heard people say, when will they initiate me? Who are they? And so it's when one comes to the platform of submission, just as Chaitanya Charitamrita describes, first is Guru Vashraya, that one takes shelter of the spiritual master, meaning one performs service. Then there's instruction, then there's shiksha, then there's diksha, then there's shiksha, and then there's saromarga. That then I follow the path, meaning that I start to structure my life as a Vaishnava. Right now, our life is like a Trinidadian. Right now, we're conditioned by Trinidadian nature or American nature or Colombian nature or this one or that one, And we develop all these tendencies and likes, like, rotis and this and that. Someplace else, somebody likes French fries and somebody else likes this and something. This is our conditioned nature, and it's very strong. And it's not that we can't use it in Krishna service, but we have to go beyond it. In our consciousness. We can't allow it to condition us to the point where we don't progress spiritually. So one should not feel proud. Oh, I follow the 4 regulated principles. Oh, I chant Hare Krishna. No. It's like being proud. It's like a student coming home to their parents and saying, how do they rate grades here? By 1 to 10? Or how do they rate it here? Or by A, B, C, D. How do they do it in the schools?
Forms.
Huh?
Forms.
No, like in the U.S., you get an A or a B or a C. They do it like that. So it's not you come home and say, I got a D+. No. I didn't fail. No. It's not, your parents would not be proud. Oh, he didn't fail. That's so wonderful. So we shouldn't think, oh, I'm doing the minimum. No. Although certainly doing the minimum, but that minimum has to become the maximum. We have to follow the principles in body, mind, and words. We have to chant 16 rounds in pure devotion. That has to be our goal. And to do that, we have to hear Srila Prabhupada's books. And we have to share them. That's why hearing together is very important, because if we're hearing alone, we can be distracted, and somebody calls it, I'm reading a purport, somebody calls on the cell phone. But if you're within a group of people, you have to turn off your cell phone. But if you're alone, nobody will see. I can do what I want. I can do it how I want. So of course, if you can't get together with others, better to do it alone. But if you can, therefore I've mentioned several times, that's why it's important to go hear the Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita whenever possible in the association of devotees. because it creates more potency. But in the hearing process, it forces us to hear better. No. Has anyone ever experienced that you're reading something in Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, or some book, and then you realize that I don't remember what I read over the last 2 pages or 3 pages, and then you have to go back. Wait a minute, now Prabhupada's making it, well, how did he come to that point? How did he come to that point? And then I go back to the beginning, no? That means we're distracted. So we have to learn how to do all these things. And this should be our emphasis. How can I concentrate more on the process of bhakti? No, this is what I'm trying to say. So, we have to be very vigilant in our spiritual lives, that we do things in the proper way, so that Krishna becomes pleased with our action. And Krishna becomes pleased with our devotion. And not fall into a mechanical tendency, mechanical chanting. Like we have traditions, we go to Artik, and it's very good, and we should go to Artik. We shouldn't think, if I just go to Artik, everything's okay. Everything has to be there. Artik has to be there. Hearing has to be there. It's the first process. Padasevanam, Archanam. They're not mentioned first by Prasad Maharaj. First he mentions hearing, and then chanting. These 2 things come first. Not so we have our deity, we should worship our deity. But we should worship the deity in such a way that it's very personal. It's developing my personal relationship with Krishna, not just a ceremony. Every ceremony we should understand what is the meaning, what is the purpose behind this. Of course, if we don't have the ability to understand, then we do it. But we should want to inquire. What is this? What is this Gaur Artik? What does it mean? When I sing the Gaur Artik, when I sing the Guru Vastakam, when I sing the Guru Vandanam, Shri Guru Charana Padma, all these things, I should be concentrating. Not that we just mechanically say the spiritual master, we repeat it off, and afterwards, and then we go about our business. But if we can't concentrate when we're chanting it on the Sanskrit or Bengali meaning, then when we hear the translation, we should concentrate on it. And we should, how am I going to apply this Guru Vandana in this day of mine? How am I going to apply this Guru Vastakam? How am I going to apply this Gaura Artik? How am I going to come closer to pleasing Lord Gauranga? And just that constant inquiry. The whole Vedic literature based on inquiry. And if we want to advance spiritually, there has to be inquiry. And inquiry, when we're reading, means, how will I apply this? How will I apply this in terms of Shikshastikam? That's why Lord Chaitanya gave it to us, so that we can apply it. How can I avoid being proud and foolish? And how can I respect and love all of it? We say, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. We say that every day, well, at least if you live in a temple. And you should say it every day if you don't live in. But how can I live that? I say I'm not this body, but if I don't live that like I'm not this body, then it's just theory. It's just theoretical declaration, which has no meaning in my life. So if I say Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, these devotees here, they're like this, then it has no meaning. So everything we do has to have meaning. And then it will become a reality in our lives and in our hearts. So I just wanted to say one more thing. And I'm going to emphasize these things, and I'm going to try to, I think after June, I have some things scheduled, but after June, I'm going to start regular programs and classes on the internet, and even little seminars and things like that. June, July, I need to get some things done. Because I can't be everywhere at one time, not being Paramatma, and I'm not trying to be Paramatma, So I have to, but we can rely, and that way the internet becomes something very wonderful. If we use it for hearing about Krishna, it becomes very wonderful. Prabhupada said that. Everything is either productive or destructive according to how we use it. Everything. Even this body, whatever, our mind, our intelligence. But, we have to take advantage. We all have to come at least to the Madhyam platform. Prabhupada said the neophyte platform is very dangerous because one has a tendency always to do the minimum, only my guru, and that's if I like what he said, if I like what he said, and only what, no. Ultimately everyone should be our Shiksha Guru, whether they teach us something positive or something negative. Well, there is no positive or negative. In the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, I forgot the verse, but it just says that this whole idea of positive and negative, of good and bad, it's all in the mind. It has no basis in reality. Everything's good, everything's wonderful, everything's coming from Krishna. We just have to see how to apply it or how to perceive it properly. So these are some things I wanted to say. So now, are there any comments, questions, concerns? Not like concerns about, general concerns on the spiritual platform, not like, otherwise we'd be here all night and tomorrow and the next day, If we get into everybody's, perception of what's wrong. I'm sure that everybody has it all figured out, what's wrong. But if you have it figured out, then you should be ready to participate in what's right. I don't mind if anybody has it figured out, let me know. Just be ready to be part of the solution. Because ideas are very easy. Oh, one last thing I wanted to say. We have the blessing of Chitsukananda Prabhu, my older god brother, who I was also a very good and close friend. So please take advantage of his association. He had a lot of association with Srila Prabhupada, and he loves to speak about Srila Prabhupada. So please take advantage of his time here. When we associate with devotees who are more advanced than us, and especially devotees who are from the previous Guru Varga, which means the previous generation of devotees, then our spiritual conscience, Tulayama Labana Pini, Aswargo Napumar Bhavam, Bhagavat Sangi Sangas. Then even a moment of that association, if we take advantage of it, even a fraction of a second becomes very valuable and very beneficial. So we have to do that. Otherwise, we will not make any progress. The whole idea in Krishna consciousness is to progress. And progress means any kind of progress. Just like how many people here have to make money some way or another? Probably almost everybody. And so to make money, it requires an effort, right? Just like there's a saying in Bengali, I forgot it, Simhasya Niva, which says that the lion cannot simply lay down and open his mouth and expect that the animals will walk in, And so, in the same way, we can't expect that money will come. We have to make an effort. And also for spiritual advancement, you have to make an effort. You can't just think that it will happen if I do these minimal things in a semi-conscious frame of mind. It won't happen. It won't manifest. So, the secret in Krishna consciousness, we have to try to think of everything very deeply and see it from different angles and how to improve. And then our Krishna consciousness will advance. So please take advantage, whenever there's a senior devotee here, take advantage of their association, try to give some service, try to learn something and serve them in some way. And then our Krishna consciousness will flourish. So, any questions, concerns, comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Gurudev. So if we continually be very casual about our Krishna consciousness, as you said, just doing the minimum, is it that we're going to remain in the anartha nivritti stage for possibly this whole lifetime or even many lifetimes to come? Because what are we going to, if we continually remain there, probably we won't get to Nishta and Ruchi and all those,
Yes. Anartha nivritti, when you achieve anartha nivritti, you come to Nishta, then that is the beginning of Madhyam Adhikar. The Nishta stage. Up to that stage, it's not that it's like some black and white thing, but generally speaking, the Madhyam Adhikar is situated in Nishta. They're fixed. They don't go up and down so much. Going up and down, up and down, up and down is a Kanishta quality, neophyte quality. So anartha nivritti, most people don't make it past anartha nivritti. No, most people don't. In the long run, something happens, they get confused, they get angry, they get frustrated. Just like I was looking at some things today. One god brother of mine who I knew very well, knew because he was criticizing Prabhupada. And so, how could he do that? He was one of the top leaders, and now he's criticizing Prabhupada. So how did that happen? Offenses. So, yes, we have to go beyond anartha nivritti. We have to. Anartha nivritti is the difficult part of Krishna consciousness. Just like sadhu sangha coming together, having a kirtan, no problem. We can all do that. Having some initial faith, some general faith in Krishna, we can all do that. Take shelter of a spiritual master and take some instructions as long as they're, I like them. But generally speaking, we can do that. But anartha nivritti, applying those instructions to the degree or asking for more instructions to where I can go beyond this platform of trying to become a better devotee, or actually become a steady devotee. A steady devotee is not subject to interpretation. That's not my own conception of what that means. It means that, like Prabhupada would say to some devotees, that now you're fixed. And generally speaking, when one is fixed in Krishna consciousness, they're able to take instruction. And generally when you're not fixed, you're not so able to take instruction. Because your conditioned nature is so strong that it just, you can take some instructions, like chant 16 rounds, because coming from our parampara, so these are great personalities, I have to do it. But then to take instructions in my practical life, or to want to change my life, to how my life fits into Krishna consciousness, instead of trying to change Krishna consciousness so it fits into my life. Anartha nivritti means that, or anartha means that. I want to take Krishna consciousness and mold it in such a way, which is the tendency. Whenever a spiritual movement becomes big, then the tendency is that the congregation begins to demand. There's a big congregation, just like when our movement was an ashram movement, and everybody got up at 3 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, 4 maximum, and everybody went to Mangalarti, and everybody, did this and that, everybody. But when it becomes a congregational movement, then we have to start designing it. Well, people can't really get up that early. Prabhu, maybe if you can get up by 6 or 6:30, at least try to beat the sun. And then, you have to start designing things. But that can never become the norm. It's not the norm. It is bringing Krishna consciousness. The holy name has this ability. It can go down to the lowest, or it can reach up to the highest. And that's why the holy name is employed in this process. But it always has to be there. We can never lower that. And when we design things for a congregation, when we design it, it's not like because we designed it like that, this is the new standard. The standard is what Srila Prabhupada said. The standard is you get up early, you attend Mangal Arati in your home or in the temple, wherever. You have Mangal Arati. It should be there for everyone. Even if it's a 5-minute Mangal Arati, but it should be there. No. So maybe we can't do that right now. So then let me do something. No. If I'm not doing anything, if I'm just going home watching television and, eating and sleeping, and then I struggle to chant some rounds, so there's no, it shouldn't be any, it's not mystery why you're chanting is, you're struggling to chant. No. But I see personally that the more I hear, the nicer chanting becomes. The more we associate with nice Vaishnavas and in a nice way on the level of hearing and chanting, then our chanting becomes so much nicer. Because by that association we feel, I have to progress. Especially when we associate with devotees who are more advanced than us. Then we feel like, yes, I want to be, just like, like little kids. They see somebody who's very strong or has some qualities or abilities and they think, oh, yes, I want to be like that. I want to be like that person. It's very beautiful, I want to be like that person. So, the point is that yes, if we can't go beyond anartha nivritti, then our whole Krishna consciousness will be a struggle. And that's why I say people who remain on that platform, generally speaking, they bring their Krishna consciousness down. Otherwise, it just becomes so difficult because I have to work and I have this and I have that and the kids and so we just start to, bring Krishna consciousness down to a different level. And there's no problem with that in one sense. Otherwise, if I'm having some difficulty, but then we have to start going up again. Anybody can have a difficulty or a problem, and it may last for 1 day, 1 year, 10 years. But then we have to go beyond that. Just like I mentioned sometimes, I don't know if I mentioned it here, I was speaking with a priest once, Catholic priest. He said, well, your movement, our movement's the same. There's a few people that are serious and most everybody else is just struggling. And I said, that is one similarity, but there's a big difference. I said, because your people think that I can do that until I die and I'm saved. But our people know, or hopefully they know, that I have to come to the platform of pure devotion. And I should do it, hopefully in this lifetime, if I want to get out of the material world. And if things are going nicely for us materially, we think, well, the material world's not so bad. Therefore, Narada Muni says it's the duty of a Vaishnava to observe the suffering of all living entities in all different species of life and in all different conditions, so that we can understand. I could be in any one of those situations. Just like, Bharat Maharaj, he was so elevated. Look who his father was. It comes from, but he took birth as a deer. And he was on the platform of Bhava Bhakti. But just by neglect, of course the neglect on Bhava Bhakti is much more serious than the neglect on the platform of Sadhu Sangha or Anartha Nivritti. Much more serious because more of it is expected of you. So the point is that we have to try to, come up. Even if we go down for some reason, then we come up. And I've seen many, I'm happy, I've seen many devotees that are here have done that. That's what we have to do. There's no question. All of us will have moments in our lives, because as long as we're under the influence of the planets, and of course the planets will always influence us, at least on the physical platform. But, as long as we're subject to these karmic influences, then we will have ups and downs. It's just going to happen. But it should be like a good business graph. Like it goes like this, sometimes it goes down, but always at least the general tendency is upward. There may be some, but if it's like this kind of graph, then at some point, I won't lose my faith in Krishna as the Supreme Person. But, my whole Krishna consciousness becomes jaded with all kinds of offenses and material ideas and false ego, and then it just goes downhill. Some people may come to Krishna consciousness, and it's very easy for them, because in their last life they were performing devotional service. But then they're going to have a big challenge, because whatever made me come back to this material world will resurface at some point in time. And if things have been very easy for me, then when I come to that obstacle, it will be very difficult. Because I won't understand, I've been chanting nicely, I took it up very quickly, but all of a sudden, I have this big obstacle. And then we start thinking, why is Krishna doing this to me? I've been serving him for the last 20 years, and I've been chanting 25 rounds a day, and I've been doing this and that. But everybody, if we come here, at some point we have to confront something that's there that brought us back to the material world. It may be something, or it may be many things. So we just have to see, whenever there's an obstacle, Krishna is mercifully, he's putting this thing that's holding me into the material world, he's placing it before me, and he's giving me the opportunity to go beyond it. Any other question? Yes?
Would you, on Shivaratri, some devotees decide to have worship of Lord Shiva in the temple. Some was for it, some was against it, and some was confused. Could you kindly enlighten us?
But Prabhupada never taught us that. That comes from Hinduism. Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava, and we worship him like that. And we respect Lord Shiva, and we worship Lord Shiva. But the way we worship him is by we hear from him, in the Bhagavatam. And on Shivaratri, we can worship Gopishwar Mahadev. That form of Shiva who went to Vrindavan and wanted to become a gopi, and who stayed there in the form of Mahadev, Gopishwar Mahadev. He couldn't become a gopi, but he became the protector of the gopis, because Shiva is not a gopi, so you can't become a gopi. Narada Muni also wanted to experience what it was the love of the gopis, so he became Naradi, but he didn't stay Naradi. And so that's how we worship Lord Shiva. I know that when a devotee, they'll have Shiva, and if I come, maybe they'll put it behind another picture or something. And they have Ganesh, and I have Lakshmi, and just something that was inbred. But, we should understand that Krishna himself says it's not necessary. It's not necessary this separate worship. Everything will be done automatically. Atyati yam sarvamidam viditva. Yogi param sthanam upaiti chatyam. Krishna says, all these things, Vedishu, Jagishu, Tapasuja, all these Vedic things. And in Hinduism, there's many things that aren't so Vedic. Otherwise, they have a Vedic origin, but then they become interpreted in such a way. How to worship Lakshmi. Does anyone really know how to worship Lakshmi Devi nowadays? According to the Shastra? Are they worshipping Ganesh in the proper way? Prabhupada said, if you can worship Ganesh if you bring me $100,000 per month. No problem. Otherwise, what he was saying, not that he wanted money, some people may turn, Prabhupada wanted money, or Ganesh. No. It means that these are the things that would happen if we know how to worship the demigods properly. If we really know the process of doing it, that's what will happen. And if that's not happening, then I don't need to do it. Then I worship Ganesh by just the same way as I worship Shiva. And Rupa Goswami recommends it. Yes, I worship Ganesh. as how do I worship Ganesh? As Lord Brahma says, as the person who carries Lord Nrsimhadev on his tusks, or on his tusk, depending on where he is now, what phase of history. So he has Lord Nrsimhadev on his tusks. That's what Lord Brahma said. So that's how the Vaishnava sees it from the parampara point of view, not from the Hindu or this or that point of view. Just like, if a devotee grew up in Christianity, they have to see how Krishna consciousness is an evolution from that. And if we grew up as Hindus, we have to see how Krishna consciousness is the origin of that Hinduism. And what's being practiced here or in so many places, it has many elements of the culture, but it's not complete. No. Any other question? There's a saying that silence means agreement. So I hope we all agree on these points. And by saying this, I just say these things. I know that everybody has this particular situation in their lives, and we all have different things we have to deal with, which may not be so ideal. But it's by hearing and emphasizing certain things that finally becomes a reality. So what I'm basically saying is that do this every day to whatever degree possible so that it becomes the reality of your life. To where pure devotion becomes the reality of your life. It may, however long it takes, don't give up, don't think it's too difficult, don't think it can't be done. It's just a question of time. And how fast it happens is also a question of how much I apply it and with what degree of intensity. We can become pure devotees in 1 second. That's all it takes. Katvanga Maharaj, who was a Kshatriya fighting in the celestial planets against demons. It's not like Namacharya Haridas Thakur sitting and chanting, 178 rounds. It's like, fighting and killing and pools of blood, and then he left that, and he prayed to the demigod. They said, "What do you want? Please tell me when I'll die." Well, you're already dead. When you go back to the material atmosphere, you're already dead. Your material life already expired. And so he said, then give me devotion to Krishna. So he knew the goal. He went from, cutting heads to pure devotion. Arjuna. He was loving Krishna by killing. So the activity is not the essence. The essence is, what is my consciousness? What is my consciousness? That we have to concentrate on our consciousness. And that happens through the loving exchanges with the Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. So I thank you all very much for your kind attention, and I hope that I've been able to contribute in some way so that we can all go back home, back to Godhead. It's a united effort, not just an individual. It's individual, but it's also united, especially in the beginning. It requires a lot of association. At some point, then we may be able to, stand on our own 2 feet. But right now, we need a lot of association.
Hare Krishna. With 3 Lord Hari Bols of history of our love and appreciation of our spiritual master. 2, 3. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! So I would like to give thanks to a few devotees, Morvida and family for sponsoring Sabji, and Shri Rupa Mataji for providing the milk for the kids, Mother Langnashama for the juice, Rati Rupa, Shri Gopal for plates and cups, Nareshwar for Sahina and chutney. Uh, Chinmay and family for mango. Shanta for the halwa. Dwi Buja Pavan